The first bullet shattered the crystal chandelier. Glass rained across the marble floor as armed men rushed into the grand dining hall. At the head of the table, Mafia boss Salvatore Romano remained perfectly still. His cold eyes scanned every face. "There is a traitor among us," he said quietly. No one dared breathe. Then his gaze stopped on the woman serving wine, Elena. For 3 years, everyone had believed she was nothing more than Salvatore's trusted assistant. No one knew that every smile, every conversation, and every step she took inside the Romano organization had been part of an undercover intelligence operation. And tonight, her cover was about to collapse. 3 years earlier, Elena Voss had walked into the Romano estate carrying nothing but a forged identity and months of preparation. She wasn't there to become rich. She wasn't seeking revenge. Her mission was simple: destroy the criminal empire from within. The Romano family controlled illegal arms trafficking, money laundering, and international smuggling through layers of shell companies. They trusted almost no one. Gaining their confidence had taken patience. She listened more than she spoke. She remembered names. She solved problems without asking for credit. Eventually, Salvatore began calling her into private meetings. It was exactly where intelligence headquarters wanted her. Every night, after everyone slept, Elena photographed documents using a tiny hidden camera concealed inside a fountain pen. The images were encrypted and quietly transmitted to her handler. Piece by piece, the empire was being mapped. Only one person ever treated Elena like family: Marco Bellini. Officially, he managed logistics for Romano's businesses. Unofficially, he made sure innocent drivers, warehouse workers, and office staff stayed away whenever dangerous operations were happening. He wasn't a saint, but he hated unnecessary bloodshed. "You work too much," Marco joked one evening as Elena organized financial files. She smiled. "So do you." He laughed. "Maybe when all this madness ends, I'll disappear somewhere near the ocean." For a second, Elena forgot she was undercover. Then her encrypted watch vibrated. A silent reminder. Mission first. Always. Weeks later, intelligence headquarters finally sent the message she'd waited years to receive. Operation Final Phase. One final shipment. One final transfer of evidence. Then simultaneous arrests across the country. The end was near, but someone had made a mistake. A courier carrying secret documents was captured before reaching headquarters. Although he revealed nothing, investigators feared the Mafia now knew an undercover officer existed. Inside the Romano mansion, suspicion spread like wildfire. Phones were confiscated, security doubled, private conversations stopped. Every employee became a suspect. Salvatore trusted no one anymore. Late that night, Elena entered the archives, pretending to organize old files. Instead, she copied the final ledger linking dozens of criminal transactions to offshore accounts. As she slipped the storage drive into her pocket, a voice echoed behind her. "What are you looking for?" "Marco." He stood silently in the doorway. For several tense seconds, neither spoke. Finally, Elena answered, "Just finishing tomorrow's paperwork." Marco looked at her longer than usual, then quietly nodded. "Be careful." He walked away, but something in his eyes had changed. He knew she was hiding something. He just didn't know what. The following morning, a bodyguard rushed into Salvatore's office. "We found an encrypted transmitter." The room froze. Salvatore slowly stood. "Bring everyone to the dining hall." Within minutes, every trusted member stood in silence. The chandelier sparkled above them. Salvatore placed a small electronic device on the table. "Someone here has been talking to my enemies." Nobody moved. Then another guard entered carrying surveillance photos. "The traitor accessed the archive last night." Elena felt her pulse quicken. Salvatore looked around the room. "Search everyone. Hidden weapons, phones, wallets, everything." One guard stepped toward Elena, just before reaching her. The lights suddenly went out. Darkness. Then alarms exploded throughout the mansion. Emergency generators failed. Someone had cut the power. Not intelligence. Someone else. The blackout created chaos. Several ambitious captains believed rivals had launched an internal coup. Within seconds, arguments turned into gunfire. Salvatore shouted orders. Nobody listened. Elena realized immediately. This wasn't coincidence. Months earlier, she had quietly planted false financial records suggesting two rival captains were secretly stealing from each other. The discovery had finally surfaced. Exactly as she had predicted. While the organization tore itself apart, she escaped through a service corridor. Outside, rain poured across the city. Elena sprinted toward an abandoned warehouse where intelligence officers waited. Halfway there, she heard tires screech. Marco stepped out of an SUV. He wasn't pointing a weapon. Only confusion filled his face. "Tell me the truth." She remained silent. "Were you ever really one of us?" "For the first time in 3 years," she answered honestly. "No." Marco closed his eyes. "So everything was a lie?" "No." She looked directly at him. "Our friendship wasn't." Before either could speak again, gunfire erupted. Salvatore's men had found them. Bullets struck parked vehicles. Windows shattered. Marco pulled Elena behind concrete barriers. "You should run," he shouted. "So should you. I'm not leaving innocent people to die." He looked at her, then slowly understood. "You've been trying to stop this all along." She nodded. Marco made his decision. He threw Elena the keys to his SUV. "The docks. That's where tonight's shipment is. If they reach the harbor, dozens of weapons disappear forever." Elena hesitated. "You'll never be forgiven." He smiled sadly. "I stopped caring about that a long time ago." Minutes later, police tactical units and intelligence officers surrounded the abandoned docks. Searchlights illuminated cargo containers. Armed smugglers scattered in every direction. Salvatore attempted to escape aboard a speedboat. Elena pursued him across the rain-soaked pier. "You sacrificed everything for this," Salvatore shouted. "They'll replace you tomorrow." She raised her weapon. "I wasn't trying to become important. I was trying to stop people like you." Salvatore reached for his pistol before he could fire. Special response officers tackled him to the ground. The operation was over. Without unnecessary bloodshed, the Romano Empire had fallen. Several weeks later, news channels called it one of the largest organized crime investigations in decades. Dozens of arrests, millions in criminal assets seized, international trafficking routes dismantled. Yet the public never learned Elena's name. Undercover officers rarely received recognition. Their victories lived inside classified files. Before leaving the city, Elena visited a quiet seaside cafe. Marco was already there. After helping investigators, he had received protection instead of prosecution because of his cooperation and efforts to prevent violence. He smiled as she approached. "So, you finally get that place near the ocean?" She looked across the waves. "Maybe. What about you?" Marco took a deep breath. "I'm opening a small shipping company. A legal one." She laughed softly. "I think that's a much better business." For a moment, neither spoke. The storm that had defined both their lives was finally over. As Elena stood to leave, Marco said quietly, "You know, I never really knew who you were." She smiled. "You knew the part that mattered." Then she walked away into the morning sunlight, disappearing into another mission, another identity, and another life that could never be spoken of. Some heroes are remembered by history. Others remain invisible, because their greatest victories are the ones the world never knows existed.